Happy Sunday. First day of the week. People realize that Sunday is actually the first day of the week. I don't know. So, I'm going to read another chapter from my book. But I got just a couple things. Happy birthday to my sister Lisa. Big 4-4. Two things that I heard today. And it sits very true with me. Don't mind. I got bruising like no tomorrow. Look at that. My circulation apparently has been struggling. I don't know. Doctors are like, don't worry about it. I'm like, all right. So I need to repaint the nails. But anyways, I digress. Another reader. I love her. Magdalena. I don't know if you've ever... She's got a beautiful big crystal shop. And I like her things. She does a lot of astrology and whatnot. But she makes things make sense. But this hit with me today. Toxic craves emotional chaos. Well, look at that. My candles just fell over. I'm going to read that again. Toxic craves emotional chaos. Energy disrupts what is false. So any of us that are carrying the high energy, because we've chosen not to live in the chaos and have worked on our emotional end. And for an individual like me, it was very tough because I have probably 80% of my charts is water. So do I feel emotions? Do I know emotions? Do emotions run my life? Oh my goodness, they do. But until I got a hold of my emotional intelligence to understand that not everything can be taken personally, and to discern who is actually for you and who is just trying to rip you apart. And it has a lot to do with the chapter I wrote about my daughter. And this is going to create a lot of whatever, and I don't care anymore. Like I've said, I'm out here to be authentic, and it's not to cut anybody down. It's to give insight on what narcissism and manipulation looks like. So, my shining star, my daughter. She came out looking like the angel that she is. She was tan, beautiful, healthy, and had these pouty lips that would smile in her sleep. I truly felt that she was happy to be here. She came 10 days early and definitely has lived life on her terms as well. She has always taken control of the room and makes sure that everyone in the room is comfortable and has what they need. She took over organizing my life at about 5 years old, and I let her. Not in the adult decision-making, but the household life. She reminded me so much of myself that I did not want to hinder her the way I had been in my own childhood. The day that she decided to arrive, I had worked all day, picked up my son from daycare, and came home exhausted. I started getting contractions about 6 p.m., excuse me, and knew that this would take some time, so I did not get too excited. Well, the contractions started to get severe. I knew that my mom was working and needed to drop my son at her house. My youngest brother was living there at the time and given the responsibility for my son. My sister came with me, but I drove. How funny. Just goes to show how independent that I truly was and was not going to let anyone change that. I laugh at myself now, which I truly do. I got to the hospital about 11 p.m. and was put into a room. Baby daddy number 2 showed up and wanted to be in the room. I was not comfortable with it and had asked that he leave until she was born. It was quite a different experience this time, as it was the doctor, nurse, and myself, only this time around. My son, there's about 13 people in the room, so very, very interesting. My daughter was not going to wait for anyone. She was ready to see this world. The doctor turned to walk away, and I told him she was coming, and I was not pushing. He turned around just in time to catch my beautiful girl. She was 7 pounds, 11 ounces, and 18 inches long. She was the most gorgeous baby I'd ever seen. Definitely the face of an angel. An ounce bigger than her brother, but just as healthy. Her bilirubin levels were a little underdeveloped, so she was put under the warming light while we were at the hospital, and I was given one to take home with me and would be going daily for blood work draws to make sure her levels were coming up. That lasted for about 10 days. She overall was very healthy, and I was quite grateful. her creed song, because I birthed my son too with our arms wide open. Hers was Don't Stop Dancing by Creed. The words of the song will be in the book. It's a beautiful song. Whatever life brings, I've been through everything, and now I'm on my knees again. It's pretty profound. Scott Stapp. My mom came to pick us up and take us home. She only spent a few minutes and left. Here I sat with not one, but two babies, and baby daddies that I already knew were going to be a challenge due to their control issues that they did not want to see. I was already tired, not knowing what the future held, but knew that I was strong enough to face this and move forward like the warrior that I was. Did I feel this way on the inside? Absolutely not. But I knew I was capable after what I had been through in my life to date. So get started and quit feeling sorry for yourself. You are not the only one in this world doing this. My little angel was such a good eater and sleeper. She fit right into our little life, always smiling and exploring, constantly crawling into and on things that she knew was naughty, but would wait for me to leave the room to investigate further. Then as she would hear me coming, get down and pretend like she was doing whatever she was doing. Incredibly smart and advanced in her knowing of self that I was just amazed every day by her. Story comes to mind of me putting the kids down for their afternoon nap. I would close the door and lay down in front of it. This way I would know when they were up and they couldn't escape, and I could catch up on some sleep too. I slowly woke up to giggling and a strong smell of baby powder. There the two of them were sitting in the middle of the room, making it snow by pressing the middle of the bottle, and then try not to laugh as they thought I was sleeping. I could not even be mad, as it was just them being them. There was powder everywhere and in everything. It would take months for the white, slippery substance to vanish from their room. At least it smelled good. One other time, I told the two of them I needed to go to the bathroom and would be right back. I always left the door open, as it was easier than fighting the constant battle of little fingers under the door and wanting in. It got very quiet as I came out. I found only my son. I asked him where she was, and he said, hungry. I did not quite understand at this point. I asked him to please show me. He took me to the refrigerator, opened the door, and there she was, sitting holding string cheese and happy as can be. Now the lights go out when the doors close, and I am thinking to myself, that did not even scare her. I knew then I was dealing with a rare soul that really did not have much fear in her. I explained that in the future, not to put her in the fridge, as she would get lonely and could not see anything. They both agreed, and it never happened again. My daughter always had a flair for fashion, and her imagination was extensive. There were constant fashion shows, Bible teaching sessions, pedicures for others, organizing grocery lists, making plans for family dinners, and making sure my work papers stayed organized for me. She was doing all of these things at a very early age, and right up to the point where visitation of her would be taken from me. Baby daddy number 2 was always a good father, but his insecurities about himself would come out in the years to come due to an unresolved childhood behaviors and issues with his own father. None of this would be addressed, as many have done in their own lives. He would try and convince everyone that I was bipolar, like my father, because he was my father. He would tell everyone he could and share lies and things to make himself look better, always looking to get people on his side and make me out to be a bad mother. He even went so far as putting in court papers that my daughter was not allowed to call my second husband Dad. I was to discourage this behavior. You talk about insecure and selfish? Children should be allowed to decide what they choose to call their supportive elders and not be shunned when developing a relationship in their life. My ex-husband was a great father and definitely was the one thing I respected in him. When he was himself and healthy, the children came first always and had everything that they needed. It also didn't help that I married an individual that eventually was diagnosed with bipolar. His actions and behaviors had a lot to do with my children as well. He was prevented from ever being alone with my children. He had tried to commit suicide twice, and once they were present in my apartment, as my ex-husband tried to hurt himself in another apartment across the hall. He would never take accountability for his behavior and ultimately be why we would divorce. My daughter was always the support of offering a world of encouragement to everyone and anyone that she would come in contact with during her life. She would thrive in school and sports during her early years and graduate grade school as the valedictorian of her class in a private school. Intelligence off the charts, but also so very caring and loving to her classmates. Her grade school teacher had always said she was the mother of the class and always helping the other children. So true. I never had to show her anything. She just watched and did everything. She was a little sponge and flourished tremendously over the years. She was never sick, and really I could not remember her ever being sick until she was about 3 or 4 years old. Always an extremely healthy child. I do have to say that she had a mean streak in her too that would surface on occasion, and especially when dealing with her brother. There was one time we were living in our apartment in Jackson. The immediate family was over and we were sitting in the living room. I could hear the two of them arguing in the bedroom. I often let them figure it out. I next heard an exceptionally large sound like a thump. Next I see my son coming around the corner crying, but no sound coming out. He looked fearful. Next followed my daughter with what I believed to be steam coming out of her ears. I looked shockingly at both of them. My daughter proceeded to say, "I know. Go to my room." I bust out laughing because it was quite the, I bust out laughing and my son comes toward me crying harder. I lift his shirt and find a bruise in the middle of his back around the size of a fist from a young girl. I tell him, "I have told you several times that eventually she would fight back, and today she did." He never went there again, and I think it was one of the changes in their relationship that no matter if they fought or not, they would always have a relationship. I was served custody papers while I was in jail by baby daddy number 2. This would proceed to primary placement, going with him and me having supervised visitations. Now believe me when I say they used everything they could to make me out to be a bad mother and that I was unable to take care of my child. I had been taking care of my children the majority of the time thus far. The details and lies that were brought up about me to this day are just twisted words with not full stories, but basically it was going to his benefit. Little did I know that I would barely see my children for the next 11 years, and now no communication from her at all for about the last 6. His control issues completely took over and keep using the excuse of her safety. My daughter, while in my care, never had anything happen to her ever, not even one time. But because of my second ex-husband, his bipolar diagnosis, and him trying to prove that I was an alcoholic and also bipolar. Which to date, none of this is true about me. As I have learned over the years, defending myself to the courts in this state, meaning Wisconsin, any way that they can get more money out of you, they will. The unfortunate part of this is none of them would anticipate the karma that would eventually find them. Did I go through years of hard times and trying to balance 2 baby daddies and a mother trying to sabotage me in every way possible? Yes, I did. I by no means am perfect, nor would ever profess to be. But when you have people that celebrate when they make your life a living hell and use your children to do that, seriously need to take a good look at themselves. Why was I so important versus them going on with their lives and leave me to live mine? My daughter has unfortunately been programmed with all the things baby daddy number 2 would have to say over the years. The last time I saw her in person was when she came to the hospital to see her brother when he was sick, 2019. This would be the last time I would see her in person to date. No questions have been asked of me by her or any inquiry at all. She has formed a relationship with her brother, which I hope that will bring them closer together. They both have suffered due to baby daddies wanting the control over me. Such a sad realization for me, but what they failed to realize is that I would sacrifice myself every time for my children. To ultimately have a good relationship, even if that meant I would be shunned out of their lives. Sorry. I would never separate my children from the other parent unless there was abuse, as was in my son's case. My daughter has thrived, even though I have not been around, but has been on anxiety medications for a number of years. That only tells me that she is under stress from the environment that she lives in and needs to find a way to get on with her life. I have been told by my son that she hates me. I'm hopeful one day she chooses to reach out, but I have never been given a phone number to call her or communicate with her unless baby daddy number 2 is on the line. So I chose to use the pain that I have felt with this whole situation and turn it into projects and work that ultimately is to help others who are going through the same pain. My daughter is being kept in a place that controls her, and I'm hoping that one day she will be strong enough to realize what is going on and move into her higher self and know that only she can change the trajectory of her life. The pity party that baby daddy number 2 created for her is not helping her. When the goal is to destroy the other parent with anything they deem true, make them out to be the bad parent, and then tell the child that the other parent doesn't care about them, is true narcissism. Thankfully, I have forgiven everyone involved and know that divine plan is what has taken place. And all they did was strengthen my bond with Spirit, and to know that no matter what they do, I am protected and will have happiness in my life. My happiness is dependent on me and what I do for myself and believe about myself. No one will ever have that much control in my life, ever. I just hope that one day she comes to me to ask the questions that she never has. She only knows what has been told. I have purposely kept my distance to give her the space and time to decide on her own. I have always sent birthday and Christmas gifts to her and never receive a response any longer. Her happiness is all I want for her. Sorry, guys. Her happiness is all I want for her, and if that means I am not a part of her life, I do understand. I send her love and blessings every day. My life is good just knowing that she is in this world and that I gave her life. She will always, didn't think this would be so hard. She will always be a blessing to anyone that she encounters, as her soul is meant for great things on this earth. I just pray that she knows how wonderful she is and that I am always here for her. Mothers never truly understand their bond with their child until it is tested by others. She will live inside of me always, and no one will ever be able to take that from me. She is a gift, and I am proud to be her mother. So, well, release, it's good sometimes. No matter how they paint the picture of you, no matter what they say about you, divine will always carry you through. Learn from your own mistakes, but don't let them define your trajectory of where you go in your world. Your world is meant for living. And I just hope that she knows she is a gift. I love you all so much. Have a beautiful day.